Now, you can't have, I guess you can, but it really helps to have characters in your illustration if it's a story-driven illustration. So I want to talk to you a little bit about your thought process when it comes to designing characters for your illustrations. Action, interaction, personality, expression, body language, design. Can you kind of just talk about like the checklist, the most important things that you think about when it comes to characters?
Yeah, for me, characters, I want them to be not overly designed. That's just my personal preference. Like everyone is different, but
And
uh,
what does that mean
I
to you, overly designed?
okay. So you know these like concept art designs where they have like 10 belts and just like a vest, and then there's some fur, and then there's more fur, and then there are straps around the arms, and then there's all these different things, and you look at it and you're like, oh, there's so much detail, but then when you close your eyes, you've totally forgotten what they look like. So my illustrations are more set in like an ordinary but kind of magical feeling setting. So I want this to be I want the characters to be simpler. I want them to be relatable, so you can feel, oh, this could be me, or this is not too far from my reality, so that I can still identify with it. So I like to, just put them into plain clothes sometimes. If I have this girl waiting at the train station, she wouldn't be wearing like those crazy belt buckles and stuff. She would just be wearing like a tank top and shorts because it's warm, maybe. So again, like the story informs the decisions I make. If I have a location that looks summery and hot, obviously I will go for like shorter and lighter clothes.
Yeah, but
And
not just
I
functionality, right? Like the way that you're talking about it, it's like you're thinking about the things that people wear to also talk about who they are, their personality.
Yes, right, definitely. And the personality, yeah, if you watch Victoria Ying's class, which I really, really love, she talks about this a ton, about starting off with a personality, because to me, that's really the approach I've always taken. When I get to the point where I'm like, okay, I want to have this character there, I'm thinking, okay, who are they? Why are they there? What are they doing? And how do they express themselves? So I draw girls mostly, but then I'm like, okay, so maybe she is like really confident. What does that look like? How can I reflect that in her body language? So I have this one character that I'm always drawing, and there's a scene where she is like leaning back, and I'm at the desk, so I can't really do it, but she's like this, and that would be very different from someone else. So, for example, if you have a schoolgirl, she will behave differently than a truck driver or something. You just want to think about how they would look like when they're bored. So maybe the girl would look like this, and the truck driver would look, but like more exaggerated. Try to act it out yourself. I think that always helps. So really try to get into the different mindsets of how people express themselves and what their expression looks like and what their body language looks like and how they would dress. Just observe people around you. There are people who have tattoos to express, who they are, their hairstyle. Um, are they wearing makeup or not? Again, what kind of clothes are they wearing? How do they carry themselves? Are they like hunched over, or are they like really straight, confident, and all those kinds of things play into how I would draw things. So I'm not starting out with like, okay, this is someone who wears something that is shaped like a triangle. This is very abstract to me and it doesn't make a lot of sense. I'm like, what are they doing? What would they be wearing? What would be practical for them? How would they, you know, act in that place at that time, depending on how they're feeling? So yeah, that's always the approach I take.
That's fantastic. Now, one thing that everybody asks at some time is posing. How
Mm-hmm.
do you think about your posing? How do you come up with it? I want to actually start off with a question first about observing posing.
Mm-hmm.
Do you
Yeah,
do
so
that
I,
a lot? Like when you're looking at people, do you kind of,
yes,
yeah? And
yeah.
when you see a pose that really connects with you, how, like if you really think about it, how are you thinking about it? Are you translating it into a drawing, or are you trying to memorize exactly what you're seeing, almost like a photo? Or
Mm, it's I try to break it down into elements. Like recently, I saw a little girl who was just like she was tiny and she was just playing with something, and she was like, and I was okay. She has her hands up here, and she had her like head out to the front, and just like um, remember it in a way where I could reconstruct it. So we're yeah, like I said, hunched over. So people are like their shoulders go forward. So I always try to make like mental notes like this. So the hands are there and the head is there and this is there. So uh,
so it's like
that's
the
how I
key
can
elements.
remember. Yes, so I can kind of recycle them maybe when I want to. And about posing in general, I like taking reference images for the poses. I like exploring them through drawing first. So I just draw it as best as I can, just like a scribble. But then I get up and I try to take the pose myself. Like, for example, when you have someone sitting on the floor, you can have that in so many different ways. So I just move around and see what it feels like, see what looks good in a photo. I try to take a lot of photos because sometimes a pose can feel natural, but it looks totally weird in the end, and the other way around. So I just want to explore all the different options because there's just not one way to sit, or there's just not one way to stand or to read a book, or all these different things.
So you take multiple photos, or do you kind
Hmm.
of just get up and pose and then kind of like remember and then go back to your seat and do it?
I take photos.
Okay.
I like taking photos. Yeah,
Yeah, I
that
like
helps
taking
me.
photos too.
Yeah. So I yeah, before I draw like 10 different images and I try to figure it out, but I can't quite get it. It's so much quicker to just get up and do it and, capture that in a photo. I think that saves you a lot of time and trouble.
Exciting, because also it doesn't have to be the perfect match, that kind of thing. You don't look like an orc, but you could totally do it and then draw a
Right.
cool orc doing that pose. So there you go, everybody. There's the challenge. Using reference to create your designs for your characters, but also thinking about some key points that you mentioned. One is the personality, and that heavily can be just said in the pose, but as well in what the person's wearing, right? Expressions, interaction, action. What are they doing? And much, much more if you'd like to check out Jamila's class, Story Driven Illustrations, on schoolism.com. Otherwise, go and start making your characters today and then tag her, and so she could check it out and I could check it out. That'd be great.